Holding someone accountable is not an attack, though may not also be a tea party. Accountability Africa is designed to always ask questions on how our commonwealth is being handled. And from the private sector, we pry into their customer service operations. Accountability Africa. It's time for another edition of Accountability Africa, and I bid you welcome. Here we hold a group of people accountable, gentlemen and women who have been charged with the responsibility of overseeing the day-to-day running of government establishments, non-governmental and corporate organizations, political office holders and leaders in various capacities. On this edition, my guest is the director of the MacArthur Foundation's Nigeria office in Abuja, Dr. Kole Shettima. Earlier at the foundation, he was responsible for grant making in population and reproductive health, girls' secondary education, human rights and international justice, and the Partnership for Higher Education in Africa. Prior to joining the foundation in 1999, Shettima taught at the University of Maiduguri, the University of Toronto, and at Ohio University. He volunteered for several organizations, including the Interchurch Coalition on Africa, Women in Nigeria, and Machina Emirate Development Association. Shettima has published several academic journals, including Africa Development, Review of African Political Economy, African Studies Review, and Journal of Asian and African Studies. He has a PhD from the University of Toronto, a master's degree from Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, and his undergraduate degree from the University of Maiduguri. Shettima sits on the board of several organizations, including the Center for Democracy and Development, Jaiz Charity and Development Foundation, and Sir Ahmadu Bello Memorial Foundation, among others. Now, before we move into the question and answer session to get details of the operations of the MacArthur Foundation and then hold Dr. Shettima accountable, let's take a break. The MacArthur Foundation supports creative people, effective institutions, and influential networks, building a more just and peaceful world. As I did say, my guest is director of the MacArthur Foundation's Nigeria office in Abuja, Dr. Kole Shettima. So welcome back to Accountability Africa on AIT. Now, the question and answer session starts now. Director, once again, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, how was MacArthur Foundation formed and what informed the setting up?
It's very interesting. John MacArthur and his wife, Catherine, were very successful, well-to-do persons. Most of the investments were in real estate and newspapers, in insurance as well. And in 1978, John MacArthur called his friends and he said to them, I have figured out how to make money. Now you have to figure out how to spend the money. So that was only, what you may call a guideline or instruction, actually, he gave to his friends at that time. Himself, he died in 1980, his wife died. Since then, the foundation really have been run by an independent board of trustees with no family member involved in the process, and everyone there is an employee, and that was how the foundation was established. And the fortune of the foundation have grown over the years, because primarily what the foundation does is to invest its resources in the stock market, and then, depending on the fortune of the stock market, the foundation's also assets grows and increases or declines depending on what the market says. Yeah.
Good. Now, having told us that, how do you now select beneficiaries of your grants?
Well, that one is an interesting question because some people write to us and ask us, you know. Some people actually, we read them from various columnists or radio programs or television programs. You know, you hear about people who are doing some amazing work some other places. And then, you know, you try to approach them and say, you know, I know it's grantees that probably have read some columns, columnists have written about the work they do, and then I approach them and say, look, can you connect us with those ones? Sometimes our staff listen to radio programs and other things. You know, one of them is, when we started to support Barkete family,
Yeah.
I wasn't listening to Barkete family at all. I was not listening to it. Our staff here, the receptionist, came to us one morning and said that, sir, we should really support Barkete family. I said, what is Barkete family? You know, so she told me all about it, and then I also took time to listen to it, and I said, yeah, I think it looks like a good idea, and therefore, we started Barkete family. As I said, sometimes it's also the reputation of people. You know, you hear about people who are doing some things in other places and other things, then you approach them. Some people approach you. Some of our staff will have some ideas about what we should do. They come to us and other things. Some people come to our office and, we see how they interact with our colleagues, our staff and others, especially our staff, the receptionists and others, because a lot of people who come to our office, they think that they have the number of the director, so they don't even follow protocol and anything. They will just say, okay, I want to, they will call me actually from the reception and say that they want to talk to me. I say, but that's a receptionist.
That's a receptionist.
Why don't you talk to the reception and other things? But, that tells us a lot about the kind of people then, because if people in that kind of situation, they don't have respect for people at lower levels, then it shows that if you give them money, they will have to be worshipped in order to do their work and other things. So there are all kinds of things that we take into consideration in doing this. So let me say that there's no science, in what we do. We are human beings. I'm sure that there are people that we support excellent. There are people that will support good. There are people that will support bad. So there's no really science that we can say that 100% of the people that we support are excellent, and therefore they should be doing that. And I'm sure that there are so many people also we should support that we really don't know them. I'm sure there are many people that we should support, we don't know them. So I think that is also very important to bear in mind, that, not everybody that we support really, we should support, or not everybody we should have support, we're actually supporting them.
Now, how do you monitor judicial use of funds?
Well, the foundation has different mechanisms on doing this one. But the most important thing I always say that we must have a trust-based philanthropy. If you don't trust people with resources, you think that you are going to look at their books every time, you are going to be checking their receipts every second, you are going to be doing everything and on their neck and other things, the person who wants to cheat you will always find a way to cheat you. Thieves are always ahead of you because they have always figured out how they can do better than you. So the first principle for us is a trust-based philanthropy. We have to just establish a trust that when we support you to do the work, you are going to do the work. Then we can then put some of the other mechanisms. Okay, how can we verify the trust that we have put in place? So that could be in terms of course, the documentation that you are supposed to give us, whether it is annually or every 6 months or whatever that we agree with you, or it could be in terms of monitoring visits that we are able to establish and other things. But we also hear many things because some of the people we support, other people also support them. So within the this development sector itself, we hear who is good, who is bad, and all those kind of things. So there are so many ways in which I think that we as an organization, we may be able to hear about what is happening, really.
Now, you have this Nigeria project, apart from working in other countries. Now, when and how did your Nigeria project start?
The foundation have been supporting Nigeria organization since 1989, okay? But we established the office in 1994. And that was in Ibadan. Then after the military left, then we moved to Abuja because we also didn't want to be in the same space with the military at that time. So when we moved, so And we have been supporting different programs over these years that I mentioned. So a number of the work that we have done includes things around human rights, just core human rights issues. We have done some work on the Niger Delta. We have done a lot of work on on Nigerian universities, higher education. We have done work on girls' secondary education. We have done a lot of work around population and reproductive health, maternal health, young people's sexual and reproductive health. But this new program that we have, which is On Nigeria, it started in 2015, and I think it's going to end in 2024. So we have a time framework of about 9 years of work that we want to do in this area, and we are hoping that after 2024, I think that the foundation will start thinking about, okay, there are new things or new ideas that we want to support. And at this point, I think the process has started. By essentially, I think that people have been asked to suggest ideas of what is it that we should do from 2024. And we hope that by end of 2023, beginning of 2024, at least we have much more clear idea of what are the kind of work that we want to support.
Now, what are your challenges working in Nigeria?
There are a number of challenges, in working in our environment, but considering what everyone is facing in Nigeria, I think we should be very grateful for being what we are in other things. People suffer a lot of infrastructural challenges and issues. Fortunately, at least in our office, we don't have to worry about those ones. People complain about water and electricity and all those kind of stuffs. At least in terms of our own work and others, I don't think that is a big issue in other things. At least we're able to overcome those kind of challenges and other things. But the challenges, I think, that will include things like this is a very big country. However, we want to ensure that we support as many groups and people as possible. We will not be able to support all the people that we really want to support. I tell people that maybe about 1%, 2% of the people who come to us actually get supported. So you see that there's actually huge demand and huge request for people to be supported. But the reality is that we also have very limited resources that we may be able to support people. But sometimes also that we may not have the we may not have the best of organizations in certain parts of the country. So we run into a situation whereby, we may not be able to get the groups that we want to support in certain parts of the country, because we are, as an organization, committed to our diversities, whether in terms of regional, whether in terms of ethnicity, whether in terms of faith, generation, disability. I think we want to respond to all those diversities, and it is not easy in Nigeria to do and to take into consideration all these things, given the limited resources and the people that we want to support as well.
Good. So, talking about these challenges, what are these things that encourage you to move on?
Well, sometimes what encourages me is just like small things, really. Sometimes it's not the big thing that encourages me. Sometimes it's the small thing. You are going to bed, or you wake up in the morning and you hear that our grantee able to, for example, investigate about water supply in some communities. In this community, for the last 5-10 years, contract have been awarded to somebody, the water have not been delivered, and then somebody among our grantees go and investigate the story, and then lo and behold, in the next 1 month or two, water comes to the community. And water helps them in terms of so many things, whether in terms of dysentery, cholera, sanitation, everything that you can think about. Or you go to school that never had a classroom, because the contract have been awarded to the contractor and the water have not been supplied and the building have not been done. Children are reading under very difficult condition that they find themselves. And then, lo and behold, somebody reports something, and then the contractor is put under pressure. ICPC get involved, civil society groups get involved, and then a classroom comes in, and you come to school and see children smiling. The smile of the children that are there, what makes you happy, that at least you can, despite all the challenges that we face, that at least you can go and see that you have actually put smile on the basis of some children.
Good. Now, I was going to ask that, knowing that Nigeria project ends 2024, I wanted to say what next, but in the course of this interview, you've answered that question already. Can you give us an idea of how much you have spent in Nigeria? And the other question is, has it been money well spent?
I believe that from 1989 to now, maybe about $400 million have been spent in terms of organizations and groups that we have been supporting over the years, over the last over 30 years, almost 40 years of our work here in Nigeria. Is it money well spent? Definitely, I will say that, because I have been to, for example, some of the work that we have done on universities. An example, I have seen in universities that we have trained more than 200 masters and PhDs and professors who are teaching on those campuses and other things, and that has its own ripple effect in terms of the academic life on the campuses and other things that happens and other things. I have seen hospitals, clinics. You go to a maternity ward and you find that there is no medication for eclampsia, or there's no medication for hemorrhage or any of those kind of things, and you see women dying in the course of what every person is joyous of, to give birth, and you see our intervention, reducing the number of women who die as a result of hemorrhage, or in terms of eclampsia or sepsis or anything. So if you look at the human impact of those things, I think that's critical. But also, if you look at the support that we give in terms of the importance of civil society, for example, in the country, because every democracy needs to be checked. The most benevolent democracy have to be checked by a vibrant civil society groups and organizations, and supporting civil society groups and organizations to be the vanguard for democracy is critical. Journalism, for example, is so important for democracy. Journalism in the service of democracy is one of the essential tools that we have in the world. For us to support, I believe now, maybe about 40 media organizations in this country and more, for them to be able to function, and for them to be what I call sometimes even to be witness in their communities, because some of these people are reporting from all kinds of different parts of the country, places where nobody really reports. The major organizations never report about those ones. But to have them even to be a witness to what is happening, for us, is one of the important elements of building our democracy itself. So journalism as a service to democracy is some of the things that I think we're all very proud of in terms of the work that we do.
Now, in addition to that, I want to ask this before we close this program. Why are you investing billions in Africa?
Well, now if you think of the world is, the future of the world is Africa, really, if you think of it. And Nigeria is at the heart of Africa. This country, if we are able to manage it, for example, very well, we are going to be the third largest population in the world in the next 30 years or so. And therefore, working in the continent to ensure that this young continent, but also old continent in terms of geology and history, we believe that that is a very critical, important thing. But it's also central to the whole notion of justice itself. Justice means given opportunity and creating the condition for those who have been deprived to be better than what they are now. So our commitment to the values that I mentioned in terms of our justice commitment, I think makes us to be here in this part of the world to be very essential in terms of the work and the kind of the world that we want to see.
All right. Finally, can you take the floor? Can you address Nigerians or your prospective grantees? What do you want from them? Can you invite them to come on board?
Well, our prospective grantees, I will always say that you never know what ideas are likely to be considered. You never know whether your idea is one of the best that can come. Sometimes we talk to people not because we are able to support them, but we are also learning groups and other things. So I'm sure that our potential grantees can also see us. I hope they will help us, because their own ideas and other things can also help us to clarify what we are doing. For example, now as we are thinking of 2024, we are also thinking about what are the other ideas that are there that we are not thinking about. And sometimes people just send us some simple things, and that simple thing may be one of the ideas that probably will click somewhere, or it may help us to clarify our perspective of certain things as well. So we definitely invite people to have a conversation with us as much as possible. We try as much as possible to be responsive all the time. I cannot claim that every single email and every paper that I get, I try to respond to them. But I am almost certain that unless something happens, whoever sent us a request or want to have a conversation with them or other things, we are always open to the idea of having these kinds of conversations.
Right. Thank you very much, Director, for granting us this opportunity.
Thank you very much for also hosting me as well. Thank you.
If them blast like this, sometimes dust will full everywhere.
You see the ground will shake, the houses will shake.
They normally blast and check the house very well.
This is the reality of Durumi village in Abuja, Nigeria's federal capital city. It is surrounded by quarry companies that occasionally carry out drilling and blasting of rocks.
The major activity in quarrying is drilling and blasting. We drill the rocks, then we blast it. Blasting is simply an operation whereby the stone in situ is broken down into fragments for crushing. So it's the crushing that brings out the sizes into 1 inch, half inch, 3/4, stone dust.
Smooth and simple as it sounds, this operation has become a nightmare for residents of this community as they constantly come under the terrifying impact of blasting.
Mainly it affect us. It affect us well because if them blast like this, sometimes dust will full everywhere. Even some building like this, you will notice it will come by the side of the wall and crack the wall.
One of the major issues that we are facing is anytime they blast, it's like a tug of war, because anytime they blast, affect the houses, even the source, the human beings. We have some incident that we recorded as at last year, even recently this year. I think the previous blasting they did, it has some issue that affected some houses that were broke down. And I'm aware of 2 houses that were broke down. So these are some of the issues that we have.
These horrific encounters dot the length and breadth of this village.
Each time they want to blast, of a truth, it's not funny. You see the ground will shake, the houses will shake. Sometimes you notice that some of the buildings are cracking, okay? And you, if you are the owner of the house, you have to still spend some money to put the building in order.
It's normally blast. If you go to site and there's some affect the roof, if you break one TV guy hand here and the tooth.
Stories of broken walls and sometimes collapsed buildings are common here. This man shows us to his building that was partially affected during a recent blast.
It affect my own. This is my own bid I show you. I say that it affect my house. I carry myself, go report for them. So then they are try their best, don't come repair.
From his own, we are shown to another and another, and the list goes on and on and on. Apart from structural damage, we were taken to this house where a blast was said to have lifted this little girl few meters above sea level and threw her down right inside their home. She showed us the scars from the now-healed injuries she sustained in that encounter, a pointer to flagrant disregard to safe distance recommendation.
It was a storm that came across the place and it affected a human being. I think it affected its arm. I was taken to the hospital. Another one, small children, they can't endure the shock. So because of that shock, the child was lifted up and fell on the ground. So these are some of the issues that we are having.
Blast can't do. Storm can't hit us. Yeah. And
To assuage the affected residents, we are told that the company responsible for the after effects of the blast on residential buildings usually repairs shattered portions of the buildings. But with the same distance still maintained between these buildings and the blast areas, this cycle of blast, shatter, and repair will continue unabated. A consultant on mining tells Clearview TV on condition of anonymity that all these are a result of lack of enforcement on the part of the government.
Nigeria has one of the best mining law enacted by the parliament in 2007. And that has been followed up with the mining regulation that was enacted in 2011. We have a functional mining law and regulation.
For residents of this community, all they want is to be able to sleep with their two eyes closed, blast or no blast. But will this ever happen?
On that note, we end this edition of Accountability Africa, which has been featuring Director of the MacArthur Foundation's Nigeria office in Abuja, Dr. Kole Shetima. Indeed, it has been a delight spending some time interviewing this gentleman. Do you want to be part of this program? Please call 0806 5030300 or email audionbello@gmail.com. Bye for now.